The Electric Bike Company is known for three unique things: American-made e-bikes, endless customization options, and delivering these to your door fully assembled. Hey guys, I'm Mike with EBR. I'm new to the channel, but not new to bikes. And this is the Model R. It's a versatile beach cruiser e-bike from Electric Bike Company, thanks to this front suspension fork and beefed up braking. But there's a lot more to the Model R than those few points. So take a ride with me and let's explore the Model R from the Electric Bike Company. Now the Model R is a Class 3 beach cruiser, meaning it can go up to 28 miles an hour on pedal assist. Now this has a starting MSRP of $2,099 and a max payload of 420 pounds. Now stripped down, this bike weighs 56 pounds, but that's no accessories or no battery. Once you throw the battery in, it becomes 65 pounds, and fully kitted the way we have it here with all the accessories, it's around 73 pounds. Just something to keep in mind if you have to move your bike around or lift it up on racks. Now, the bike is UL 2271 certified. Also, we should talk about the fully assembled aspect of this. So these come to your home fully assembled. Now, it's not new to get a bike shipped to your house, but getting one that's completely put together when it's shipped to your house is something unique in the e-bike world. Now, the way they do this is Electric Bike Company takes on some costs on their side to give you a better product that's ready to ride when you receive it. What they do is they assign your build sheet to one specific mechanic. That mechanic will oversee and personally do your build the way you've outlined it, piece by piece. Then once that's done, they will do a full inspection, making sure the bolts are tight, everything is straight, the brakes are up to date, the PSI in the tires is checked, and then they put it into a box, a much larger box because the wheels are already on, and that's something called LTL shipping. Now, LTL shipping basically means they're going to use a much bigger box and pay a higher price to ship your bike to you, versus other companies who are using a smaller box for reduced shipping costs, but ultimately giving you more to assemble. So very cool that they do that. They take on that cost to give you a product that's ready to ride the day you get it. Now, when you order a Model R, one of the first selections you'll be having to make is the tire size or the wheel size. It comes in either two choices, 24 or 26. Now this one here is a 26. And when you make that decision, you also have the choice between three different tire setups and three different sizes. So you have an option from the Electric Bike Company's proprietary EBC Rhino tire, which comes in a 2.35 by 26, and that has puncture resistance as well as a reflective stripe. Now you can also opt for Schwalbe tires at 2.3 by 26, or you can upgrade to the Continental E50s that are 26 by 2.2. No matter what tire you pick, you have the choice between the tan and white like we have here or a traditional black. Now, one thing to know when you do decide to pick a tire size is that will change how the bike fits. So let me show you more about the frame here. This frame only comes in one size. Now, when you choose a 24-inch tire, this same frame will fit riders from 5 foot up to 6'8". If you go with a 26 like we have here, that'll fit riders from 5'2" all the way up to 6'10". Now personally, we don't have anyone near my office that's even close to 6'10". Me at 5'11", this fits me just fine, with plenty of room to go in either direction. Now you saw me step over here. The standover height on this bike is 19 inches. The reach is 17.75 inches, and the wheelbase from front hub to rear hub is 48 inches. You also have seat adjustability here from about 27 inches up to 33 inches, giving you about 6 inches of adjustability. And when you pick this frame, that's where the fun starts with Electric Bike Company. Everything you see painted on here can be painted any color you can think of. Now, starting, they have 10 free colors to pick from that are your traditional colors of the rainbow. Outside of that, they have some metallic and some color changing options that are more premium priced. Or if you have a certain color combination or a certain code you like used, you send them that paint code, and they have an in-house paint shop. Because these are American-made e-bikes, they can paint them themselves. So any color you want, you can have on your bike. And I don't just mean the frame. I mean the frame, the basket accessories, the front suspension fork, the chain guard, the fenders, even these accessories and their line of helmets. And that paint process is a 7-step process that leads to what I think is a very nice final paint job. That 7 steps consist of cleaning, primering, 3 coats of your paint choice, and then 2 more coats of clear coat. And ultimately, you get a deep, nice paint job that rivals many cars in my opinion. And one other unique factor about the frames of Electric Bike Company is they say they use a 3mm thick frame. And they also say in their marketing that other brands use up to 1.5mm. Now I can't confirm whether that's true or not, but I can tell you from personal experience riding the bike, when you have a step-through frame like this, you tend to get a little flex when you ride. But on this bike, it was very minimal to the point that I didn't really notice it at all. And to me, that's a testament that they are using some sort of better frame material, or at least thicker frame material that doesn't flex as much. And in my opinion, that's always a good thing. Now the Model R comes standard with front and rear fenders. But when it comes to these, you have a choice between painting them any color you want. Again, their in-house paint shop. But they also have an in-house woodworking shop where you can get made custom layered wood weather sealed fenders, and they look really nice. But it's your choice between colored metal ones or custom woodworked. Now, also on that note, here on the chain guard, you can choose to have that painted any color you want, or again, get the custom woodworked ones. You also get a standard rear rack that's MIC compatible. If you're not familiar with MIC, it's a whole line of accessories that we'll get into in just a couple minutes, but you can also have this painted any color you want. Now, if you look at the frame, you'll notice stainless steel hardware from front to back. Now, the reason why EBC does that is because stainless steel is going to be a harder metal, less chances of stripping the heads or the threads, and because beach cruisers are usually in humid areas with varied climates, these will be resistant to rusting and ultimately longer life for your bike. Now the standard model will come with a headlight and a tail light. You can opt for an upgrade which will give you high and low beams and turn signals, but it's good to know at a minimum you're at least going to have front and rear lighting. Now the motor on the Model R is a 500-watt rear hub motor, but that motor can also peak to 750 watts, and it's rated for 60 Newton meters of torque. Now this motor is activated by a cadence sensor as the standard option, but should you want a more natural pedaling feel, you can upgrade to get a torque sensor on this motor. Now let's talk about the battery that powers this setup. This is the 48 volt 12 amp hour battery that comes standard. Now this is advertised as having up to 60 miles of range. Now when you order, you can option an upgrade to several other batteries. One of them being a 14 amp hour option that will give you up to 70 miles of range, a 21 amp hour version that will give you up to 100 miles of range, and even a 30 amp hour option that will give you up to a whopping 150 miles of range. Now a small caveat on those ranges, the 100 and 150 mile options, if you opt for that, you will get a required front basket because there's going to be a dual battery setup there. Now, when it comes to real world range, they advertise between 60 all the way up to 150, depending on that battery. Now, our counterparts over at Electric Bike Report did a range test on all the models from Electric Bike Company, and they found they do a very good job of getting super close to that estimated range, but on average found that they fall short by only about 5 to 10 miles, and on numbers that big, that's a very impressive result. Now, this battery will come standard with a 2.5 amp charger. You can upgrade to a 3.5 amp or even a 5 amp fast charger, giving you lots of flexibility in your charge times. Now the warranty on this battery is 2 years, and it's also UL 2271 certified. Now it does give you the option to lock and secure this battery. Let me show you how that works. Now all bikes come with a key where you can secure your battery in place. All you'll need to do, is put the key in, lift this up, and you can drop it all the way out. It clears the fender, no problem. Then you put the key back up and you're good to go. Now, being able to lock your battery is always going to be a good thing. It's an added layer of security and it prevents theft or just the ability to take it out. But in addition to that, if you opt for the technology package, Electric Bike Company also gives the bike an alarm system, which if you're parking it in public areas, leaving it locked up, it's just another layer of added security. Now, when it comes to the drivetrain on the Model R, you also have some options here. Now, the standard setup is what we have here, and that's going to be a single speed, giving you a 58-tooth chainring mated to a 16-tooth freewheel. Should you want more elevation changes or just range and flexibility in your riding, then you could opt for the 7-speed drivetrain upgrade, and that's going to give you a 56-tooth chainring mated to a 14 to 28 rear cassette. Now, the brakes on this bike come standard as 4-piston Bengal hydraulic disc brakes mated to 180mm rotors. Now, if you're looking at our footage right now, you might be noticing there's 2-piston calipers on this bike, and I think there was a bit of a mix-up at the factory, and to their defense, we ordered about 7 bikes at one time, and it's possible there was just confusion with the build, but I will say, if you order the bike, it will come standard with 4-piston caliper brakes. Now let's take a look at the saddle options for the Model R. Now you have a couple standard options with this bike. You can do a standard seat, which has no backrest. You can do the backrest option like we have here, or you can do their jumbo seat, which is better for people with wider sit bones or for people who just like a big comfy seat to sit on. We've gotten a lot of feedback and that seems to be a popular seat. Now, regardless of which seat you choose, you will get to pick between tan or black leather, and whichever of those colors you choose, that's going to dictate what color grips you have. It's just an automatic selection. So let's go ahead and talk about the front suspension. Here in the front, we have a coil fork that has 80 millimeters of travel. It's easy to push, but it's not so easy that it slams down. It feels pretty good. You also have a lockout option here, and if you put that in place, that does lock out the fork, and you simply unlock it by switching that back, and you get back to your 80 millimeters of travel. Now, let's talk about this cockpit. So when you talk about the cockpit, you have 4 options right off the bat, and that's going to be the style of handlebar. Now, as you can see here, we have this wide swept-back classic beach cruiser style, but you can also do a flat MTB bar, BMX bars, or even high-rise motorcycle style bars. And whichever you choose, all of them are going to give you a wildly different look of the bike overall, and it's another area you can kind of personalize your bike. Now, the cockpit itself is laid out very clean. This one has leather grips on either side. It has your brake levers on both sides. Here on the left, you have your power button and PAS up and PAS down. Now, I will say if you opt for the standard model, you will not have a color display. You'll operate the bike through the power and PAS buttons here. But since this has the technology package with the alarm and the high-low beams and turn signals, this bike comes with a color display. Now, over on the right, you have a phone holder by Electric Bike Company, which has twisted on us. And on the right, you have a bell, and then you have a push throttle here. Now, let's talk about some of the cable management. Now, overall, this is a very clean setup in the cockpit. They've used these sleeves to kind of route some of the cables together from just bunching up and being unkept. I did notice there was one straggler here that was zip tied to the bar that powers the PAS and power button, but I'd rather see it put in the sleeve just for a little cleaner look, but overall, it's still a very clean look here in the cockpit. So now let's take a closer look at this display. So to power on the display and the bike in general, you're just going to press this power button and you'll see the splash screen of the company's logo pop up. Now, once it powers on, you'll get a basic display menu, and that's going to be all of your pertinent information. Things like your voltage, ambient temperature outside, current miles per hour, current PAS level, wattage output, time, distance, and odometer. Now, you can also go into a deeper settings menu if you want to make some adjustments, and we'll go into that now. But just so you know, to get to it, you must access it within 10 seconds of the bike powering on. Now, we've already surpassed that, so I'm going to turn the bike off and turn it back on so we can get into that settings menu. So turning the bike back on, I'll let it get through the logo, and then once it's there, within 10 seconds, hold the up and down buttons, and you will find yourself in the settings menu. Now, there's a lot going on the screen, but don't be intimidated because we're only going to go over these first 3 items, and I'll explain why in just a second. But the first is going to be speed limit. The second, DIM, is actually standing for diameter, and that's where you select between 26 or 24-inch wheels, depending on what you picked. The third is going to be your unit of measurement, where you can go between imperial or metric, or miles per hour and kilometers per hour. Now, you have the P settings, the C settings, and the L settings. Now, the manual, when I went to the manual on Electric Bike Company's website, it was simply a PDF download and it was scanned from a copy machine, so it's kind of hard to read, and it even doesn't cover the rest of these options. So that's an area for improvement. I'd like to see Electric Bike Company make a dedicated web page where you could get a full detailed breakdown of all the settings in the display menu. But for now, you have everything you need, and you can simply exit the settings menu by simply holding the power button for about 3 seconds, and you're back to the home screen. So on the home screen, you have all your basic info. So you've got your voltage here, your ambient outside temperature, your miles per hour, your current PAS level, your output wattage, and then your time, distance, and odometer. All the basics for a good ride. Now, when it comes to the Model R and Electric Bike Company in general, accessorizing and personalizing is just the name of the game if you haven't been able to tell already. Now, you have a full lineup of accessories, and starting up in the cockpit, you have the phone holder and the bell that has a hidden AirTag compartment for security, which is really cool. But they also have their own lineup of helmets that can be painted any color you want, just like the rest of the bike. And those helmets have a very nice safety feature where you can press a button and you'll get LED lighting in the front and the back that can be solidly on, or you can have it strobe for added visibility and safety, which is always a good thing. Now up front, you have the option of a metal basket like this that can be painted any color you want, or you can do a MIC platform rack in the front. Also, the MIC compatibility allows you to use any of these baskets and they will be compatible with the same retention system on the rear rack. So let me show you how that works. So all of the bikes will come with a key fob, which is a MIC key fob. Now the way this works is you'll come back here, you'll press this button on the fob, this will open the key. There's a receiver, all you'll do is push it in and that will unlock the basket and allow you to take it off, and then you can simply lock it back in place. Now what that does is that allows you to keep your baskets and your gear on your bike in a solid way with a good retention system that prevents it from falling off if you hit a bump, or the days of our past where we used to use straps and bungee cords to hold our baskets in place. But as you can see, from pannier bags to baskets to helmets to handlebar bags, there's just a lot of options and tons of accessories, so really you can be as mild or as wild as you want. So now it's time for the best part of any review. Let's take the Model R for a real world ride. All right guys, we're out here on the Model R, and when you get on this bike, you can't avoid the comfort. It's just this big white seat. We have this backrest on it that gives me back support. These wide, just kind of laid back cruiser bars. I mean, the bike just screams like, honestly, what I get reminded of every time I get on this bike and look at it is like just the old school classic cars with the paint jobs and the big bodies, big wide bodies. It just feels like a confidently rolling, smooth ride. And when you couple that with the Schwalbe tires and the front suspension fork, it just makes the ride super enjoyable and comfortable. Your body, I mean, personally, I have no strains anywhere when I ride this. Geometry is just built for cruising, and that's where it shines. So the front suspension fork, obviously it helps with comfort, but it also helps with things like this. You have that bounce there. The front eats it up, no problem, super smooth. So ours is the single speed version, and I'm currently using none of the juice right now. I'm just kind of cruising along at 10 miles an hour. The 500 watt motor, well 750 motor on here, it really is a nice, subtle, yet confident and capable motor. It doesn't blast you with power, but when you request it, it's right there, and it's a nice, very little motor noise, not silent but not loud or obnoxious, just slightly there. The bike just kind of glides though, and that's one cool thing about cruisers is they just intuitively kind of glide where you want to go. You think about the direction, it's really easy. It's more of an intuitive experience, I'd say, than some bikes. It just kind of cruises around, true to its name. These brakes, these Bengal brakes, so we have the upgraded, well, the Model R has standard 4-piston brakes. And let's get up to about 20 and then give them a quick brake test. And that's about 20 there. So 1, 2, 3, stop. Super fast. I did have a little bit of a screech going on back there, but most of that was just how hard I hit the brakes for a fast stop. And generally speaking, even turning, diving, the brakes work really well. No crazy creaks or rattles coming off of it. It's fairly smooth and quiet all around. And with all the modularity, like the baskets up front, the baskets in the rear, the bags, I mean, this is like the ultimate like beach cruiser, flea market, grocery store, just kind of do anything bike. And it can be just customized to how you like. And at the end of the day, you're getting a very durable, super well built, just kind of a hot rod cruiser. That's what these things are. They're really cool, really customizable, and ultimately really comfortable. So it's just something I like a lot about this bike. It's super nice. But that's enough on my thoughts. I'm gonna continue this ride. When I get back, we'll go meet up with Ben and just get his thoughts on this, the good and the bad from a mechanic standpoint. And then we will put a bow on this and wrap it up. All right guys, we're out here with our in-house mechanic, Ben, and he's gonna go over his thoughts on the Model R. But before we do that, a big thank you once again to Feedback Sports for providing us with their Pro HD rack and some of their tools. This thing is made of aluminum, super durable, well built, but lightweight, but still holding a 73-pound bike with no issues. If you like to tinker on your bike, I'll leave a link down below, you can check them out. Ben, I'm gonna leave you to this. Could you start by just giving us your thoughts on what you like about the Model R?
Sure will. Thanks, Mike. What I like about this, there's a lot to like about this bike. First thing first is the stainless steel hardware that they choose to use. Reasons to like that is it does create a situation where there's not going to be corrosion or rust that much. And you're seeing it in a lot of different places on the bike, so that's a big plus factor. Stainless steel, when you use that, it does increase the weight capacity. You can put more weight in the basket because it's attached with really heavy duty bolts there. Fender hardware also stainless steel, so that's really nice if you're going through puddles. I really like that it's built out of the box. We'll get back to that, but it is nice that everything is assembled when you pull it out of the box at your house. I also like the quick release front hub. For anytime you get a flat tire, that sure does make it easier and faster for sure to change. I like that these bikes come with a little bit stiffer spring in the fork for two reasons. One, with the basket, you put a gallon of milk or something heavier in there. If you've got a softer spring, then it tends to compress the fork too easily. Or if you're going fast or you're just a bigger rider, that's just one thing. It does have a lockout on it, so those are all things that I like about the fork. Also with this, as light as the bike is, the frame is really stiff. So you get on it and you put weight in the front, you put some weight in the back, maybe even on the panniers. The frame rides really nice and responsive. So those are things that I do like. There's a couple things that I would ask them maybe they can consider to change or maybe do better on. With the fork and the stem, as much as I like the fork, I wish they would use a threadless fork and a threadless stem system. The reason that's better is it's lighter, it is stronger, it's easier to adjust, and you'll find parts more readily available basically at every bike shop. So that is one thing I wish that they could correct. Easier access to fender hardware. Where it mounts to the fork, that's okay. There's nuts and bolts that are easy to access. But right here, just makes it tough to get to if you have to adjust it or if it comes loose. The seat post clamp, or the seat clamp rather, is it's kind of more of an archaic, older style. I wish they would use what's called a micro adjust. A, because it's stronger, B, because it's easier to adjust, and you don't tend to have the angling of the saddle when you use it. The last thing that I think that they could do a little bit better on is the placement of the kickstand. The kickstand as it is mounts right behind the bottom bracket. They seem to have a mount on the frame for a different area to mount the kickstand, which would make it so when you're parking the bike and rolling it backwards, there's no interruption in the pedals moving backwards as you roll it to park the bike. There is one thing I'd like to add, and as much as we love that these bikes come out of the box fully assembled, as a bike mechanic, I always just like to check the checker, the last assembly. Every bike that comes built like this, nobody's perfect. It's not just EBC, it's not just every other bike company out there. It's just a safety check upon an assembled bike is just always a good idea. I'd like to start with the stem, and these are bolts that are nice to check. We've got this exceptional tool kit from Feedback, so we're able to access these tools really quickly. First off, the main stem bolt. This just ensures that the stem will not spin in the fork, so you can turn and handle the bike properly. 5mm Allen key. Make sure that the height adjustment bolt is also tight so you don't have any kind of movement there. Also, the stem face plate bolts. It's always nice to make sure these things are tight. 5mm Allen key, just get a nice turn on those things. And that ensures your front end and your cockpit are ready to go. Next up, I like to visit the brakes. Also, thanks to Feedback, we've got a Torx tri-wrench. So these are Torx 25. It's a great idea to check all your rotor bolts just to make sure. A loose rotor bolt will make noise. It'll end up making the brake rub. Nobody wants that, and it could potentially be unsafe. Also, the brake caliper bolts. It's a 5mm Allen key. Check those things. And again, not to say that EBC didn't tighten them. It's just, again, as we put it, to check the checker. Also with the fender hardware, this is an easy one. It's just a 4mm Allen key. Just make sure those things are nice and tight so the fender stays exactly where it's supposed to be. Another couple of items to check are the chainring bolts and the main crank bolt. The chainring bolts use a 5mm Allen key. These will turn clockwise to tighten, so go ahead and check all 5 of those things. The crank bolt, in pretty much every case on every bike, is going to be an 8mm, so you can put it in there, hold the back wheel, and just turn this thing clockwise. Make sure and check both sides, both drive side and non-drive side. Always good to check. And the last thing we like to check, and again, these are all for your safety and so you will be able to enjoy your ride more, is the seat rail bolts right here. It's a 14mm. Just make sure those things are tight. Sometimes they're a little awkward to get into, but this just ensures that your saddle will not move up and down or forward and backward while you're out there enjoying your farmer's market on these awesome bikes. And that's all I've got for the safety checks.
So we've covered a lot with the Model R. What's the bottom line, and who's this bike for? Well, overall, in my opinion, this feels like the ultimate beach cruiser. And this is for those who like complete control of their bike's build. From the color to the accessory, how it looks, how it rides, and how it feels, you get total control, which is very unique. Plus, you get the upgraded stainless steel hardware, the thicker frame, and the overall durable build quality. It just feels like a bike that should last a long time. So, hope you guys enjoyed this review. I'm Mike with EBR, and we'll see you guys out on the trail.